Okay, I think we're live. No. Oh, yes, we are. Okay. Looks like we're live. So if you're joining me, please post something so that I know that you're here, and then I'll respond. And then I'll know that we're ready to get rolling. So we've got about, no, it's time. It's 2 o'clock. Okay. So today, Debbie asked me to do a little talk about wealth building. And the reason that she asked me to do this little talk is because my husband and I have been able to save more than $400,000 in the last 5 years. We literally started with almost nothing. We had, from our previous jobs and lives, we had some 401k savings, but really not much at all. So in the last 5 years, we've been building our team. We've been able to save more than $400,000. We also were able to put my daughter through a private college during all of that savings. We were also able to set up power of attorney, wills, living trusts, and some life insurance policies that are pretty important. And we are on track to save $5 million in the next 10 years. So I think that what's exciting about this is that in 10 years, we won't really be that old, but it gives us the opportunity to do whatever we want at that point, right? We decided with our financial planner that $5 million was the number we want to hit for our retirement savings, so that at that ripe old age for me of 61, we'll be able to decide, do we want to keep selling? Do we want to build another team? Do we want to expand our team? Or do we want to retire from real estate and do something else, whatever your heart desires? And so I think that that's what this is all about. So thank you so much for everyone that's already joining me. It's so great to see you, and I really appreciate you tuning in. So just going to recap one more time. This is a talk on my thoughts and opinions, and also some tips on building wealth that Debbie asked me to do. The 4 things that are most exciting about this for me: in the last 5 years, I've saved more than $400,000, put my daughter through a private college, everything paid for, paid cash, 100%. Set up the power of attorney, the living will, the living trust, the life insurance policies, and also are on track, my husband and I together, to save $5 million in the next 10 years. So how do we do it? First of all, I want to give you just a quick overview of what we're going to do. We're just going to talk about not the nitty gritty of like investing and profit and loss statement and budgeting and spreadsheets, because you know I'm not that kind of a girl, but I am the kind of girl that likes to break it down and make it easy. So 3 basic steps here. Number one, most important thing: every time you get a check, a commission check, every single time, you take 10% of that check and you put it in a separate savings account and you don't touch it. There's a little book. It's literally a small book about this big and very, very quick read. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And the whole principle of this book is saving 10% of everything you make. And it's written in a like a story kind of a way. And I remember when my daughter was about 4 years old, we were sitting on the beach together, and she wanted me to read her a story, and that was the book that I had in my beach bag, and I read it to her. And to this day, she's a great, great saver. So if you don't read it for yourself, read it for your kids or your grandkids or somebody that you love. Read it out loud together, or even better, just put it on Audible and have someone read it to you when you're in your car. The Richest Man in Babylon. We all have heard about it 1,000 times. You've got to read this book. It's so important. So that's just the number 1 rule. You got to pay your taxes, obviously. And girls, I know there are some of you out there who aren't paying your taxes, and it breaks my heart, because I don't know how many times I have heard from people that say, you know, I just can't believe this happened to me. I'm now $100,000 in debt with the IRS, or $200,000 in debt with the IRS. Well, there's good news and bad news. There's 2 things that add up really fast, and that's debt with the IRS and savings. So the bad news is the debt, and the good news is the savings. Because the way they both accumulate is just a little at a time, right? One little commission check at a time. You owe the IRS, a little here, a little there, and then a couple of years later, you owe them big time, and you don't know how to dig out. So this is the number one rule, right? You must save 10% of every single check that you receive. Now, I'm not going to go into all the do's and don'ts and all that on the IRS today, because that's like Wealth 3.0. But the basic of it is, what I would recommend, every single time you get a check, this money goes into autopilot mode, where 30% goes into a tax account and 10% goes into a savings account. So any bank anywhere in the United States will set this up for you. Every time you make a deposit of any kind, the money is distributed so that 30% goes into a separate account for taxes, 10% goes into a separate account for your savings, and then the rest stays in your account. And I am not a technology girl, but I do have a PowerPoint presentation here for you today. Now, you all know that Chris is a tech guy, and but I am not. So here's my PowerPoint presentation. So what it says is that for every commission check that you earn, is this backwards? No, I think it's good. For every commission check that you earn, you're going to have 30% go automatically to taxes, 10% automatically to savings, 60% goes to your business account, and then you get paid out of that. Now you see that I'm partners with Chris, my husband, so he gets paid and I get paid at the same time. And then look what happens down here. I have two accounts. When I get paid, after all the other things get paid, I spend some and I save some. So not only do we have our couple savings account, which is that 10% over here, that's the mandatory, but then I have my own little account. I spend some and I save some. And why? Because I don't want to have to ever ask anybody about anything when I want to buy something, go somewhere, or invest in something. So that's the number one rule. That's an easy one, right? That's the 10% rule, and you've got to do it. Number two is, once you have some money accumulated in that savings account, I want you to get some professional advice from a financial planner and make some decisions about how you're going to invest that money, because the money sitting in a bank account is really not going to grow very much. It adds up and it's a great start, but once you get that account built up a little bit, I'd say probably maybe 20,000. I don't know. It's different for everyone. But what you want to do is you want to talk to a financial planner about how to invest your money, because everyone's different. If I had started this 20 years ago when I was much, much younger, I could have gone and put my money into investments with some high risk funds and had a huge return back then. But now that I didn't start till I was a little older, it's important for me to have a certain percentage that's very safe in investments. So it's going to have a lower yield, a lower return, and then a smaller percentage that's going to be high risk. So those are things that we can invest in that will have a high yield, but they're risky. And so we don't, at this age, going into a 10-year plan for the $5 million in savings and assets, we don't want to have a whole lot of risk. But it just depends on who you are, whether you're married, whether you have children, your age, how much you have to invest, and so on. But that's the number two, my number two rule, is to get professional advice from a financial planner. And so you can have a really good picture and an understanding of how your money is going to be invested and how risky it is. Because some of us, let's just face it, some of us just are risk averse, and we just don't want to see our money at risk. So that's important. That's why you have to have a financial planner, someone who can guide you through and make the best decision for you. So that's not something that I can advise you on. That's something that everybody makes their own choice on. And then the number three rule is to have a big goal for yourself. And for me, and I think for a lot of real estate agents, because we tend to be more artists and less analytical, I think it's important to have a visual goal. So 5 years ago or so, when we first started our savings, it was really important for me at the same time to be paying cash for our daughter's college. So on my bulletin board right in front of my desk every day was a photograph of her campus in Oregon where she went, and her college tuition bill, which showed paid in full at the end of every semester. Or I think actually it was the beginning of every semester. You have to always pay in advance. So that was really motivating to me and exciting for me, because that was something that I had not planned for. I had not saved for, unfortunately. I didn't do a good job with that many years ago, but then I was able to set that big goal to make those payments for the college, and I got it done. At the same time I was saving. So if that's your goal, if it's the kids' college or any kind of other big saving for retirement. If you're saving for retirement, spend some time to think about where it's going to be that you're going to retire. What kind of a lifestyle is your dream? You know, where do you want to live? What's your dream house? Are you in the mountains somewhere? Are you overlooking a beach? Are you close to your kids in some sweet little town in Vermont or someplace? Wherever it is, put a picture up for yourself, because when you're saving and you see the accumulation of the funds stacking up, and you know that the end goal is there, and that's what you have to look forward to, whether it's 5 years away or 10 years or 50 years, whatever it is. I think it's important to have that visual reminder of your goal. And some of us don't have a big why. You know, we have the whys for the, you know, why we're working and why we do certain things, but the why for saving is so important. And I wish really that I had gotten this lesson a lot earlier in life. And if you don't do it for yourself, think of the kids that look up to you, or the grandkids that watch what you do and say, and do it for them. Because the example that you set for them and the legacy that you leave for them is really probably more important and more inspiring of a goal than your own happiness and retirement. So do that. And then remember too that independence is freedom, right? And that, not that money is everything. Money isn't everything, but financial freedom and financial independence go hand in hand. And, you know, there are so many of us that are being dealt big changes in our lives. You know, will it be the death of a spouse, or the loss of a big income stream in your family, or will it be a divorce or something like that? When you have that financial freedom and security and the independence, it changes your life. It really is something that that is worth working for, worth saving for, and worth putting on your goal list, okay? So that's really it. I would say that my other piece of advice is to live for the bigger end goal and not for your immediate lifestyle and ego. You know, it's easy in this job as real estate agents to try to drive the nicest car and wear the nicest clothes and really have that picture of success. What we think is that picture of success for others, the big house and all of that. But two things I would say about that. One, you're never going to outdo everyone, right? There's always going to be someone with better shoes and a better car and a bigger house. And for me, see, I think you all know, like my big goal, my retirement plan is to be on Maui and have this gorgeous oceanfront home. So every time I think about spending something or getting that more luxurious car, newer car, or bigger house, I just don't do it, because I'm sort of laughing on the inside thinking that's okay, because in 10 years, I'll be the one on Maui with the big house that I want, or the oceanfront house that I want. I don't need those other things now. So I think that's the really big lesson to embrace, is that to let go of that immediate lifestyle or ego or whatever it is that drives us to spend, and make sure that you're putting money into savings for yourself, because that is the seed of wealth, is savings. It's not going to happen any other way. You just have to do it. So I told you about my plan. That was my PowerPoint. That's my slideshow right there. That's it. Okay. And I hope you got that. And so I'll just recap. I'm going to do a quick recap, and then I'll take any questions. I'll have a little Q&A if anybody else has questions or comments, because we're about 15 minutes in, and I don't want to keep you forever today. So the recap: have a plan. Make a plan for yourself. Save something. I think 10% is the absolute minimum, and do it right away. So now what are we, the 27th of the year? No, we're on the 28th of December. So we're right here at this time where we make big goals for ourselves for next year and resolutions. If you do nothing else today, go to your bank and set up an account so that every single time you receive a commission check from your broker, it's going automatically into a tax account, a savings account, and the rest can stay there for your business, okay? You can do this. Get expert advice when it comes to investing, because that's really how you're going to compound your savings. So for example, that $400,000 that we've been able to save in just the last 5 years, I'd say in the last 12 months, about 55,000 of that was just from investments. We did nothing but invest smartly to get that additional income. So the bigger your portfolio is, the bit more you put into the savings, the more it grows for you. So make sure you get expert advice on the investing. Get those visual goals up. And like I said, please, please, please just start today. If you don't do anything else today, before the end of the year, please set up that savings account. Some savings, 10%. If you had 10 bucks to spend, you'd be okay with 9, right? You can get by with 9. It's really not even that noticeable, but it does add up and accumulate, and then you can start investing, and once that account starts to get fat. So that's it. Those are my thoughts and my tips on building wealth. That's how I've done it. It's so simple. And it's so easy to overlook and keep procrastinating about. So my encouragement and my advice and my tips and my thoughts for today are to get those savings set up and do it right away. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Oh my gosh, I'm looking here on the side. I see all my friends. This is sort of like romper room. Remember when they used to like look through the glass and say, hello, Francis. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Zoe. Vonda. I love you girls. Hi, Liz. Hi, Alicia. Oh my gosh. See, a lot of you girls, you have been through this journey with me, and you have seen the transformation, and we've done it together, right? From being broke or being, frightened about our futures with money, and really getting ourselves together, putting on our big girl pants and getting some savings down. So I'm really proud of you all. Okay, so let's see. Cindy has a question. I have a corporate bank account, and if I open another savings account, should I put it as my personal or another corporate account? Okay, so the question is that she has this corporate bank account that she runs her business out of, and if she opens another savings account, should it be personal or should it be through the business? I think it should be a personal account. But the financial planner can help you with that too. I think a personal account is the best way, as long as you're not going to be dipping into it, because you have a lot more control over it. And everyone's different, because sometimes in corporations, small corporations or LLCs, you have other partners that need to approve things. But I think for yourself, or you and your spouse, whatever it is where you're building your personal wealth and your personal portfolio, I say put it into a personal account, a savings account. Okay, I hope that was clear for you, Cindy. And then later, you might do other things, Cindy, like you might decide to take some of that money and invest it in real estate. And in that case, you want another corporation to hold those real estate holdings, and that would be something different. But if you haven't done it, you haven't started the savings and the wealth building, just make it a personal account. Okay, let's see. Anybody else? Let's see if there are any other questions. I don't think so. I love that you're all sharing your own tips and advice too. Thank you for the compliment on my PowerPoint presentation, Dawn. I thought it was pretty good too. So that's all I have. Please do read The Richest Man in Babylon or get it on Audible. Set up those accounts for yourself, have financial freedom, and go and set some really big goals. And let's see who starts living the dream. I love you all. Happy New Year. I will see you all soon. Bye, guys.